All right. So today we are diving into magnetic story selling.
Okay.
This is a marketing program put together by
Big names.
the big names, Dan Kennedy and Russell Brunson.
All right.
And we've got some excerpts from the program itself, but also a whole stack of user reviews.
Okay.
So we're going to be looking at both sides of that.
Yeah,
And you want the quick and dirty on what this whole thing's about.
I do.
That's what we're here for.
This should be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
You know, one thing this program really focuses on is a problem I bet a lot of people listening have felt
Oh, yeah.
like firsthand.
Uh-huh.
That really frustrating feeling when you just watch customers drift away.
Oh, yeah.
You put all this effort into your marketing and they don't bite.
The worst.
Yeah.
It really is.
Like, are you speaking Martian? Is your website cursed?
You start questioning everything.
Yeah.
Like, what's even the point?
Right, and then the panic sets in. So
Yes.
you just start cranking up the volume on everything.
More ads, more emails, more posts.
Everything. But you know, as Dan and Russell point out in this material, it's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline.
Oh.
More is not the answer.
Okay.
It's about the right kind of marketing.
Okay. I like that.
So that's where their magnetic story selling comes in.
Okay, so what is the magic formula? Spill the tea.
So in a nutshell, it's about making your dream customer
Okay.
absolutely fascinated by you.
By me.
By you, the business owner,
Oh,
the
no.
personality behind the brand.
Okay.
They use this phrase, personality-driven copywriting,
I like that.
which I thought was very catchy. So
Yeah.
it's not just about your product, it's about building that connection.
So less like a boring product catalog and more like, come sit by the campfire and hear my wild entrepreneurial tale.
Exactly.
I love that.
And who better to teach this than Dan Kennedy,
Okay, yeah.
the renegade millionaire maker?
He's got like 1,000,000 years of experience?
Yeah, he's got over 40 years of marketing experience.
Okay, slight exaggeration, but still the guy's got it. And then you've got Russell Brunson,
Yes.
the funnel guy,
The funnel guy himself.
best-selling author, co-founder of ClickFunnels.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these guys are not messing around.
They're not.
This is the real deal.
It is, and their combined experience is pretty hard to ignore.
Yeah.
But let's not just take their word for it.
Okay.
You know, the real test is what actual users are saying.
Okay.
And the reviews that we have for magnetic story selling are pretty darn glowing.
All right. Hit me with some highlights. What are people saying?
Okay, so one that really jumped out at me was from Robert Estupinian.
Okay.
Now, this guy was already deep into copywriting.
Okay.
Had been studying it for 3 years.
Wow.
But he said this program showed him stuff he was completely missing.
That's wild.
It is.
Like, even if you think you know marketing,
Right.
there's always another level.
Totally.
It's like that next level stuff.
Exactly. And he actually said he went from like the basics to the master level.
Wow.
Which is a pretty big claim, but the reviews back him up.
Interesting.
Like, there's this recurring theme of magnetic story selling, helping people understand like the psychology
Okay.
behind why customers buy,
Got it.
not just like the features of a product.
So less, hey, this blender has 12 speeds.
Right.
And more like, imagine yourself whipping up the most delicious smoothie bowl,
Yes.
impressing all your friends with your healthy lifestyle.
Exactly. It's about tapping into those desires.
Okay.
And like painting a picture for them.
I like that.
Oh, and speaking of pictures, I thought this review was interesting.
Great.
Dave Dixon said, implementing the program's suggestions led to a life-changing, business-altering moment.
A little dramatic.
A bit dramatic, maybe.
Yeah.
But if my newsletter response jumped by 50% like his did,
Oh, wow.
I'd be pretty theatrical too.
That's true. Yeah, if you're getting those results,
Right.
you can be as dramatic as you want.
Exactly. And it wasn't just numbers, you
Right.
know? He talked about his client relationships going from like cool and distant to warm and familiar.
Oh, wow.
That's what we're talking about.
That human connection.
That human connection.
I like it.
And the best part,
What's that?
he said that shift happened because he started talking about things that actually happened to him.
Oh,
Real personal stories.
not just marketing fluff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That vulnerability seems key.
Interesting.
And another reviewer, Jack Phelps, mentioned keeping customers coming back for more with engaging content.
Oh, okay.
He completely changed how he communicated with his audience and saw a huge positive response.
Makes you wonder what we're all doing wrong.
Well, maybe not wrong, but there's always room for improvement.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
Even Robert Scrobb, who was already having success with his business,
Right.
said that this program showed him what he was still missing.
Interesting.
He learned to better weave those core concepts into his messages,
Okay.
especially for training content. And get this, he said Dan Kennedy straight up gave him checklists and templates for influential writing.
Oh, wow. Talk about a shortcut.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of shortcuts, magnetic story selling itself sounds like it takes a lot of the mystery out of marketing.
Yeah.
Michael Gravatt said it gave him the tools and questions he needed to guide his writing, which is probably super helpful for anyone who's ever stared at a blank page
Oh, yeah.
and felt that panic set
I
in.
know that feeling all too well.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah.
But maybe the most powerful testimonial comes from John Duquesne.
Okay.
He flat out said that Dan Kennedy has influenced his company's direction more than any other marketing expert out there.
Wow. High praise.
It is.
Yeah.
And he said he expects even bigger growth
Wow.
because of what he learned.
So it's not just about a quick boost.
Right.
It's a long-term strategy
Exactly.
for building your business.
It is, in a way that really resonates with people.
So instead of chasing customers,
Yes.
you're becoming this magnet.
His exact draws them in.
That's the idea.
I love it.
Which brings us to the guys behind all of this.
Okay.
Dan Kennedy and Russell Brunson.
Yeah.
Now, you've already touched on their impressive backgrounds,
I have.
but what's fascinating to me is how different their styles are.
That's true.
You know?
Dan's the renegade,
Yes.
known for his very direct,
Yes.
no BS approach.
Right.
Whereas Russell's a lot more about funnels and online strategy. It's interesting.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily pair them together.
You wouldn't?
But I think that's what makes this program so strong.
Okay.
You've got Dan's decades of direct response wisdom combined with Russell's digital marketing mastery.
Yeah.
It's like they cover all the bases.
Yeah, they do.
And they're both master storytellers in their own right.
That's true.
Dan's known for those captivating anecdotes.
Yeah.
And Russell's books are practically case studies in how to use story to sell.
It makes you wonder, what's one key takeaway they want listeners to walk away with? Good question.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's that shift in mindset.
Okay.
It's instead of seeing marketing as this separate thing you do to your audience,
Yeah.
it becomes about building a genuine connection through story.
I like that.
I completely agree.
Yeah, it's not manipulation.
Right.
It's an invitation.
It is.
You're inviting people into your world, sharing your experiences,
Yes.
and letting them decide if they want to be a part of it.
Exactly.
And the best part is you don't have to be some literary genius to do it.
You don't. Everyone has a story.
Yeah.
It's about finding yours and learning how to tell it in a way that connects.
So if you are curious to learn more,
If you are.
that's where the free training comes in.
Yeah.
It's called Get Customers for Life with Personality and Marketing. Pretty enticing title.
Very nice.
And the URL is super easy to remember.
What is it?
tiny.cc/magnetic story.
tiny.cc/magnetic story.
tiny.cc/magnetic story.
That's tiny.cc magnetic story. It's easy peasy.
We'll make sure it's in the show notes too.
We will.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are your initial thoughts on all this?
Honestly, I'm feeling pretty inspired.
Okay.
It's like a reminder that marketing doesn't have to be
Yeah.
this cold, calculated thing. It can be human,
Yes,
it can be fun,
it can.
and it can be incredibly effective
Absolutely.
when done right.
When done right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great place to leave our listeners
Yeah.
with a sense of possibility.
Oh.
Everyone has a story to tell, and learning how to tell it effectively could be the key to unlocking a whole new level of success.
I love it.
Okay, so we've talked about the problem.
Right.
We've talked about the solution.
Yeah.
We've even seen some proof in these glowing reviews. And we've talked about the masterminds behind it all. But the big question is, what can we actually do with this magnetic story selling idea?
Yeah. What can we do?
How do we make it work for us?
That's the question, isn't it?
That is the question.
Yeah.
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The program itself goes into a lot more detail.
Okay.
But one thing they emphasize is understanding your audience.
Okay.
Like really understanding them. Not just demographics,
Okay.
but like their pain points,
Yeah.
their aspirations,
Yeah.
what keeps them up at night.
So it's like becoming a marketing therapist.
Exactly.
You've got to get into their heads
You do.
and figure out what makes them tick.
Exactly. And once you've got that down, you can start crafting stories
Okay.
that actually speak to those needs and desires.
Okay.
It's not about manipulating them,
Right.
but about finding those genuine points of connection.
That's where the authenticity piece comes in.
Yes.
That we talked about earlier with the reviews.
Right.
People can sniff out a fake story
They can.
from a mile away.
A mile away.
Yeah.
One thing that Dan Kennedy talks about a lot is the power of vulnerability,
Okay.
like sharing your own struggles.
Your setbacks.
Yeah.
Even your embarrassing moments. That's what makes you relatable.
So it's like saying, hey, I'm a human being too, just trying to figure things out.
Exactly.
And that kind of takes the guard down.
Takes the guard down instantly.
Right, it does.
Makes you seem more human.
Absolutely. And then there's the structure of the story itself.
Okay.
Magnetic story selling goes into detail about this 7-step formula that Dan Kennedy developed.
Okay.
It's not just rambling on.
Right.
There's a method to the madness.
Okay, spill the beans.
All right.
What are these 7 steps?
Virtually, we can't give away all their secrets.
Oh, come on.
But I will say it's about hooking your audience from the start,
Okay.
building tension,
Uh-huh.
revealing the solution,
Yeah.
and ultimately leaving them with a clear takeaway message.
So it's like those movies where you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time.
Yeah,
And then you walk out feeling changed somehow.
that's the goal.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is there's so many different types of stories
Okay.
that you can use.
Like what?
You can use personal anecdotes,
Mm-hmm.
customer testimonials,
Yeah.
case studies,
Oh.
even fictional stories if you're feeling creative.
So it's not limited to just your own life story.
It's not.
You can borrow inspiration from all over the place,
You can.
which is good because some of us haven't had that much drama in our lives yet.
And we'll speak for yourself
Okay. All right. We'll save those stories for another time.
another time.
Yeah.
But seriously, the point is anyone can find stories that connect to their brand and their message.
Okay.
And the program really emphasizes testing and refining your stories.
Okay.
It's not a one and done thing.
Right.
You've got to see what resonates with your audience and keep tweaking it.
So it's like a constant evolution.
Yeah,
Your marketing story is always growing
it is.
and changing along with your business.
Exactly. And I think that's a really exciting way to approach it.
Okay.
It keeps things fresh. Yeah.
It keeps you engaged
Uh-huh.
and it keeps your audience coming back for more.
Okay, so to sum it all up,
Right.
if you're tired of feeling like your marketing is just shouting into the void,
Yeah.
magnetic story selling might be worth checking out.
It might.
It's about creating that genuine connection with your audience,
Mm.
telling stories that resonate,
Yes.
and ultimately building a business that's built on something much stronger than just features and benefits.
Absolutely.
And remember, everyone has a story.
Right.
It's about finding yours,
Yes.
honing it,
Mm.
and letting it do the heavy lifting for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So if you're intrigued, that free training we mentioned earlier is definitely worth a look.
It is.
It's called Get Customers for Life with Personality in Marketing.
That's right.
And the URL is tiny.cc/magnetic story.
That's tiny.cc magnetic story.
That's tiny.cc magnetic story.
Easy.
And we'll have it linked in the show notes as well.
We will.
Yeah. It's a great starting point for anyone who wants to explore this whole idea of
Right.
magnetic storytelling
Yeah,
and
yes.
see how it can transform their business.
And hey, even if you're already a marketing pro, like that Robert Estepinian guy,
Robert.
you know,
Yeah.
there might be some hidden gems in there for you too.
There might be.
You never know.
You never know. That's the beauty of learning.
That's true.
Right?
Always something new to discover.
Always.
Well said.
Thank you.
So on that note,
All right.
we'll wrap up this deep dive into magnetic story selling.
Okay.
Hopefully you're walking away with some new insights, some inspiration,
Yeah.
and maybe even a few stories of your own brewing in that brilliant brain of yours.
Thanks for joining us.
And remember,
Yes.
the most compelling stories are the ones that come from the heart.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about the problem, the solution, the proof, the masterminds behind it all.
We have.
But the big question is, what can we actually do with this magnetic story selling idea?
That's the question.
How do we make it work for US?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The program itself goes into a lot more detail.
Okay.
But one thing they emphasize over and over is understanding your audience. Like really understanding them.
More than just demographics.
Right.
Okay.
It's about understanding their pain points, their aspirations, what keeps them up at night.
So it's like becoming a marketing therapist.
Exactly. You got to get in their heads
You got to get in their
and
heads.
figure out what makes them tick.
Okay, and once you've got that down,
Then you can start crafting stories that really speak to those needs.
Okay.
and desires.
Makes sense.
And again, it's not about manipulating them.
Right.
It's about finding those genuine points of connection.
And that's where that authenticity piece comes in that we talked about with those reviews.
Exactly. People can sniff out a fake story a mile away.
Oh, yeah, they can.
One thing Dan Kennedy talks about a lot is the power of vulnerability.
Okay.
Like sharing your own struggles, your setbacks, even your embarrassing moments.
Oh.
That's what makes you relatable.
'Cause it's like saying, hey, I'm a human being too, just trying to figure things out.
Exactly. And it just takes that guard down.
Yeah. You're not this perfect guru on high.
Right.
You're a person.
Exactly. And then there's the structure of the story itself.
Okay.
Magnetic story selling goes into a lot of detail about the 7-step formula that Dan Kennedy developed.
Oh, okay. A 7-step formula.
It's not just rambling. It's not just like telling stories.
Okay.
There's an actual method to the madness.
All right. Spill the beans. What are the 7 steps?
Well, unfortunately, we can't give away all their secrets.
No.
But I will say it's all about hooking your audience from the start,
Okay.
building tension, revealing a solution, and ultimately leaving them with a clear takeaway message.
So it's like those movies that you're on the edge of your seat the whole time,
Exactly.
and then you walk out and you just feel different somehow.
Yeah, that's the idea. And the cool thing is there are so many different types of stories that you can use.
Okay. Like what?
You can use personal anecdotes, customer testimonials, case studies, even fictional stories if you're feeling creative.
So you're not limited to just your own personal story.
You are not.
You can pull inspiration from anywhere.
From anywhere, which is good because some of us haven't had that much drama in our lives yet.
Well, speak for yourself.
I've got some stories.
All right, we'll save those for another time.
Another time. But the point is anyone can find stories that connect with their brand and their message.
Okay, and then do you just tell the stories and you're good?
Well, no, the program really emphasizes testing and refining your stories over time.
Yeah.
It's not a one and done thing. You've got to figure out what resonates with your audience and keep tweaking it.
So it's a constant evolution.
Yeah, your marketing story is always growing and changing along with your business.
Right, makes sense.
And I think that's a really exciting way to approach it. It keeps things fresh for you, it keeps you engaged, and it keeps your audience coming back for more.
Okay, so to sum it all up,
Yeah.
if you're tired of feeling like your marketing is just shouting into the void, magnetic story selling might be worth checking out.
I think it is.
It's about creating that genuine connection with your audience, telling stories that resonate, and ultimately building a business that's built on something much stronger
Yes.
that just features and benefits.
I completely agree.
And remember, everyone has a story.
Yeah.
It's about finding yours and honing it and letting it do the heavy lifting for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So if you are intrigued by all this, that free training we mentioned earlier is definitely worth checking out. It's called Get Customers for Life with Personality in Marketing.
Catchy title.
Yeah. And the URL is super easy to remember, tiny.cc/magnetic story.
Tiny.cc/magnetic story.
That's tiny.cc magnetic story.
Easy.
And we'll have it linked in the show notes as well.
We will do that.
So yeah, it's a great starting point for anybody who wants to dive into this idea of magnetic storytelling and see if it can transform their business.
I think so too.
And hey, even if you're already a marketing pro like that Robert Estepinian guy, you never know, there might be some little golden nuggets in there for you.
You never know.
There's always something new to discover.
Absolutely. The beauty of learning.
Well said. So on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into magnetic story selling. Hopefully you're walking away with some new insights, some inspiration, and maybe even a few story ideas of your own brewing in that brilliant brain of yours.
Thanks for joining us.
And remember, the most compelling stories are the ones that come from the heart.
Absolutely.